Welcome to another episode of You and AI. Today we are with Florian Bankoley. He's the Chief Digital Officer at Bosch Mobility. Before that, he was in various leading positions within Bosch Group, like as a Managing Director for Mobility Media and as a member of the board at Bosch Digital. So clearly someone who's been driving innovation and change in a pretty big company with a lot of legacy for quite some time. It's great to have you here, Florian.
Thanks for having me, Johannes.
Was that a fair, short introduction, or would you like to add anything here?
No, absolutely fair. That captures it very well.
All right. So let's talk about AI and what role it plays in your life right now. And maybe we can begin with a typical day in your life. I think you're based in Stuttgart. So, how does your work week look like? And how do you interact with AI throughout your day?
Yeah, that's a very good question. When I think about it, there's no such thing as a typical day, but I would say there are recurring themes. So strategic alignment, the review of status and initiatives, uh, prep meetings, connecting across regions, and of course traveling. And when I think about it, in that, over the recent months, I would say AI is integrated more and more into the daily routines. So, okay, there's this meeting coming up. Can you summarize the pre-read? Can I get the key points and can you make the links to initiatives we're currently driving? So, really shortening the time that's necessary for preparation and giving you the opportunity to dive deeply into that. Or another aspect would be there's a topic that came up and I want to know more about it. So, okay, let's do a little bit of research. Give me what are the key trends? What is the industry saying? Just these type of things. So that's my professional life, I would say. That's that where it does a lot. And maybe as an anecdote, also my private life and my typical week, it comes up. Um, and just today because I have a lot of construction ongoing this week in our house. So I
Oh,
have
yeah.
my, it can be fun, sometimes not, but I have my AI agent, so the construction agent that helps me with screening all the offers from the builders and the specifications and saying, no, no, this is wrong and this needs to be changed. And here, this doesn't seem to match right. So also there, it helps a lot with this type of things.
Cool. Yeah, that's quite a wide spectrum already. Um, if you can talk about it, you mentioned a couple of use cases
Hmm.
from your work life. Um, what kind of technologies or platforms do you use there? A lot of companies we work with do have still a lot of limitations for good
Hmm.
reasons. Also, what kind of technologies they can work there with? So,
Hmm.
how's your setup there?
So, and this is first of all a Bosch answer, because in my previous role,
Yeah,
when I was
yeah,
board member at Bosch Digital, ChatGPT went through the roof. So we were faced with the question, what do we do? It was
yeah.
Andreas Nauertz, my colleague at the time in the board, and myself. And we said, we cannot block it. There's no way. This is such an innovation. It's not sensible to block it. And yes, there are risks, of course. And there were back then, they're still in today. So back then we decided, so let's do a pop-up. Let's talk to the team. How long do you need to have a pop-up? So when someone in the company with their company laptop or computer goes to ChatGPT and they do it the first time, there's a pop-up saying, okay, look, listen, we encourage using AI, get familiar with it, but don't upload any confidential data because it's not secure.
Mhm.
Please do not do that. So this was one track. So kind of working with awareness, but keeping open this innovation path. And then in parallel, the team worked very hard to have, let's say, our company sanitized version um, of a chatbot interaction a GPT model, which we call AskBosch. Okay, and that's just a brand
Mhm.
name. So within this
Mhm.
AskBosch platform, which is the typical chatbot interface, below that, connecting the different LLMs. So nowadays you can use ChatGPT, so the OpenAI. You can use Anthropic, you can use the Gemini to so and because they slightly have different strengths, So you can see, okay, what am I actually doing? So I can pick and choose the model that fits best for me. So from day one, we try to promote, keep it open, and also provide options where then you can use a bit more confidential data. Having our own storage options, so the data we put in does not get used for training, but it's kept private. Okay, what you can nowadays use, if I take ChatGPT for example, there is a setting which you can use to say, please do not use my data for training. Now, this on an enterprise grade is a different game, but having this on an enterprise level so people actually use it, we lower the barrier for entry. And that's what I do. So I use the different options, the different models, depending on what I'm actually trying to do, best fit for purpose. And that's also a learning journey, because I would say the challenge is the best model today might not be the best model next week. So you also have to really engage all of the time.
Yeah, a very dynamic space in general. So it's really interesting, and I think we really see the whole spectrum of like lots of disappointment or at least sobering moments, and then on the other hand, also companies who are not really able to leverage or test things because I don't know. It feels like they're still stuck in defining their AI ethics and the whole governance and regulation about it. So that's quite interesting. Um, you shared a couple of use cases that were rather focused on how you individually use this AI as sort of like this assistant. Have you also come across or tried use cases where AI becomes part of like these interactive situations, joining a meeting, these kind of things?
So we do, yes. So we have the cases where AI joins the meeting and summarizes it, and I would keep it on that level for now.
Hmm.
I think the next step is, do you have an AI-based team member? Do you have an AI agent in your team, or do you have even several agents in your team? We are not there yet, to be frank, but we're experimenting with it, and we're working on it because we believe that that will also be the next step. When I talk about an office environment, now, when we go
Yeah.
into our value creation, as we call it, so into our value chain, if we talk about production or engineering, also there we're pushing that. So, for example, let's take the production and manufacturing environment. There we do have AI, let me call them bots, agents that are also embedded into the value chain and autonomously under
Hmm.
supervision in a clear framework, but performing tasks. So where you have a team member, if you want to put it this way. And I give you one tangible example. What could it be? In a automated optical inspection. Okay? Because at
Hmm.
the end of the line, when there's specifically when you have semiconductors, um, or a PCB. So you have an optical inspection saying, is this part okay or not okay? Are
Hmm.
all the pieces in the right place? All the gradients correct? And this can also be done autonomously. And previously, there would just be an image, but someone would look at the image, so it's augmented. But the next step is, of course, saying, no, 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 there's our optical inspection agent who is doing that, and then giving feedback to the system, and that there's a human in the loop, but not a human in action. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, Something I'm also really interested in is that so like vector of AI moving beyond just being a junior role or an assistant. So if you look at this as a leader, as an executive, um, what would it take for you so your AI assistants maybe moves more towards becoming an advisor or even like sparring partner and decision makers? Do you see that happening at all?
mm. That's a very good question. Let me split it from my current state. From my current
Hmm.
state, I do not see AI agents being decision makers in, let me say, relevant decisions. And what I call relevant decisions is, you have to have a certain classification in terms of impact, or are they reversible or non-reversible decisions? And specifically, we talk about non-reversible decisions, or Amazon, Jeff Bezos calls them one way door. I
Yeah.
would not recommend having an AI agent doing a one-way door decision. Um, if it is a two-way door with, let's say, I don't want to say neglectable impact, but controllable impact, I believe that we will move there, um, where you have a human in the loop as a supervisor of several two-way door decisions and kind of looking for patterns and saying, oh, everything is running fine. And
Hmm.
since it is a two-way door decision, you can always walk back if it was a wrong one. So this is one, I would say, in decision making as a classification. When you
Yeah.
say as a consultant, I personally am there today. I use it a, a lot when there are complex topics or there's a topic where I need research done, where previously I would have asked a team, okay, guys, here's what I think. I'll give you a briefing, um, have a look into it, and then in 2 weeks we convene again, and then we have a debate and look into it. I cut this short today. Is it more time invest for me? Yes, it is, because now I sit down 2 3 hours and I had to learn better prompting, and I'm still working on it, refining my prompting
Yeah.
skills. But then I do it with AI, sparing. Okay, this is a topic. This is what I'm thinking about. Do some research. Come back. We refine. You venture off a different path, and then I spend 2 3 hours. But I would say give and take 2 to 3 worth of weeks work has been done in 3 hours. Me spending time.
Okay. Yeah. Um, Talking about like adoption on a management level, I'm sure also at Bosch there's quite like a diverse picture of adoption and
Mhm.
how much maybe also some of your peers are working with AI. What do you observe there, and what can a company do to drive adoption across the board?
So I would say, frankly, there's a high interest in management in our company in using
Hmm.
AI, mostly, or not mostly, but supported by top management. Um, Adoption and also discussions. So apart from myself, we have our group CDO, Tanja Rückert, who talks a lot about it, but she does it also, and we all do it in lunch and learn type of sessions, sofa sessions, as they are called, in terms of, okay, we don't only talk about AI, let's talk about how we actually use it. Let's talk about how we do it. Let's do a show and tell, if you want to put it this way, how it helps us. Also with my teams, and I say, okay, here I used AI, and I send them stuff, and I do not mask that it was collaboration between me and my AI sparring partner on the weekend, and this is the paper I want to talk about. I explicitly show it. Say, okay, guys,
Hmm.
here's what I worked on. Here it is, because they know there's no way I could have done it on my own over the weekend. It's simply impossible. Um, but then, okay, he uses it, so they also start using it. So we create this kind of adoption, and I have the same with peers. So there's a good momentum. There's a high interest in our organization. Would I say that 100% everybody in management uses it? Probably not. But we see a lot of traction and good discussions around it.
So you already talked a little bit about what kind of decisions you don't see AI
Hmm.
playing a role or should play a role there. Do you see any other boundaries or limitations, at least in today's setup, where you see like AI could do more, but you're not there yet, or in a
Mhm.
company like Bosch, this will never be possible.
Hmm. So where do I see limitations? I mean, for one, AI cannot replace the human interaction. So you cannot have my AI avatar replace me in talking to the team. Okay, this will not work. Um, this authenticity and empathy is necessary also to have the human touch and the human connection. This is one. The second
Yeah.
one, even if we're using electronic media, to give you the example, if I'm communicating with my team and then doing a video or writing an email about a complex topic or future strategic direction, um, I could have AI write this, but I would not do it. Why? Because I have a certain personal touch and way I express things which maybe might also not be 100% grammatically proper, but they are the way I communicate. Um,
Yeah.
and the team knows this and sees this, and I would not replace that with AI, because they're also using an electronic medium. You lose the human touch and kind of the special character that creates the emotional connection. So there, I would say there are limitations. There are also technical limitations, because as humans, we have access to a vast amount of data and make these connections. And in today's data landscapes, even if it is highly embedded, my virtual assistant, I have a GPT for that, does not have connections to all data sources that I use day in, day out, because there are also non-electronic discussions I have.
Yeah.
And they are important. They inform what I do. So this type of replacement, I see the limitations. Let me put it this way.
Mhm. So let's take a bit of an outlook into the future.
Mhm.
Um, where do you think, where can you imagine that your future work and your role will still change a lot due to AI? And then after that, we'll come to your dream agent. If you could have the perfect advisor, assistant, what would it do for you? But in general, like, are there any particular responsibilities, areas of work, repetitive tasks? I don't know, where you think like in 2 or 3 years, I won't do them in the same style or
Mhm.
same way I do it today.
Mm. That's a great question. So I strongly believe that we will all have agents supporting us in our daily routine work, that kind of take away work that we used to do that takes up time. Okay, there's a presentation you need to do, there's a briefing you need to read, there's some research that needs to be done. Can you cobble these topics together? So I believe that there's not only one agent, there will be probably a team of agents that all of us will kind of have at hand and work with. This is one thing I strongly believe in. And our skills, how to ask questions, how to structure this, and how to structure information when you do not have all the contextual knowledge immediately, but you need to embed a little bit of this contextual knowledge for the outcome to be better, we'll also have to improve. So this agent orchestration and the way to prompt and
Mhm.
may leverage these agents, this is how our work will change. My work will change, and where I will use it. And I hope for the agents to be also supportive in terms of collecting information and distilling this type of information and pre-distilling it without me prompting it. So already coming up with the distilled information. Um, One limitation I want to mention here is you cannot rely 100%, and you shouldn't, on the data that is given to you. You
Yeah.
always need to have this cross-check, cross-reference, and read actually through it and say, okay, does it make sense, or is there something off? And if there's something off, I need to look into the data myself. I need to ask the question again, so I can, as you do fact checking when you read something in a newspaper and you wonder like, it seems a little bit strange. Let me Google this. The same you have to do when you get the data from agents. You can increase the confidence level, but you always need to be alert that it's not 100% true. So this is also a skill we have to learn and embed into our doing. But looking into the future, I'm looking forward to have these mixed teams with agents and humans, and kind of taking away routine work, summarizing the, I don't know, hundreds of messages we get every day on 10 channels to a concise activity,
Yeah.
and getting recommendations out of it. I think that's kind of to your first question. That's where I see it in my work. If I
Yeah.
look at it the broader scope within Bosch, where do I see it? We will have more and more agents in our value chain, in the back office processes, in the production environment, in the engineering environment. It will be humans augmented by AI. It will be humans that are working, as I mentioned, with multiple agents um, in these environments. And I think we can all be more productive in terms of focusing on the really hard, complex tasks and taking away a little bit of the routine tasks. And also having a research partner with infinite access to resources, so knowledge, which we can prompt and say, okay, on this topic, let me know what is state of the art. And it takes you 10 seconds so you get a concise summary. And this speeds up getting to the right decision. So this is how I envision the future of work. To your second question
Hmm.
about the dream agent, if I come to it, I have two. I have two visions as of now, and they may be a bit,
Okay,
let's say,
shoot.
humble. But one is uh, I have a virtual chief of staff, which is pretty good
Hmm.
so far, learning. And I tell you a funny thing. Um, when preparing for this podcast, and I thought about, okay, me and AI, and I wrote down a few notes just for myself, saying, and I did it. So la la la. Okay, this is what I would
Hmm.
think of, and here maybe some topics. And then I said, okay, now I asked my virtual chief of staff, I'm going in a podcast on me and AI. Just write down a few bullet points what I could talk about, and it
Hmm.
is 80% match of what I on my own wrote with my context and what my virtual chief of staff wrote. So it's actually pretty good. What I'm looking forward to is connecting this to more and more sources. So it gets more and more
Hmm.
of the context done, and it can support me even better in this. Um, and I have a higher confidence in the answers because not everything was 80%. So 20%, I would say, maybe not me, but it's already a great help. So this is my number one. My second
And
one,
maybe if I, sorry if
hmm?
I can
Yeah,
ask there,
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
more data. I guess for many use cases, on the one hand, more data, but then also the right kind of structured and contextualized data. Without going too much into detail, but what kind of data would that be, right? We also have this at Workpath. We've outlined this AI agent canvas just to
Hmm.
structure these use cases, understand a little
Hmm.
bit better how the use case could really do its best, and I think I understand the output this virtual chief of staff can create for you. I assume the impact on you is just like saving time, but also
Yeah.
getting additional ideas. But input wise, what kind of data would that be, particularly for your role, for your everyday work, that this chief of staff would benefit of the most?
Mm. And that's where it gets tricky. You're fully right because the first part, of course, is as of today has a lot of my strategy work and sparring and research I do, and I gave it some context. What's my role? What's the organization I'm working in? Now, the next
Yeah.
level, which I don't have yet, is does it have access to all my emails? Does it have access to my SharePoints? So all the presentations and documents I'm working on doesn't have yet. That's a natural next step, which we will get to. Yes. Beyond that, it is meetings. Does it have access to the meetings I have? So my meeting notes, my meeting transcripts, which will help a lot for this context. This will be a bit more difficult to get to,
Mhm.
frankly, but that would also be and is the next step I'm looking forward to. And lastly, it would probably be great that beyond the meetings, it also has access to the external inputs I get. So what
Yeah.
do I read? What do I listen to? Huh? Um, I'm not sure if I want to go there because then it could build myself on double, but it would help tremendously in shaping it.
Yeah, no, that is super interesting. And it's again, right, sort of like right now it feels like on different levels you have very different pace of what's happening. On the one hand, a lot of what you describe is possible. On the one hand, we're still all as humans, as teams, are adopting like, do we want this? Where does this lead us? And
Yeah,
then on a foundational level, of course, we have to figure out ways like how does this comply with like not all regulations. We're in Germany, we're in Europe. Not all of that I think is always good and beneficial, but some of it, of course, makes sense,
yeah.
particularly when it comes to employee protection
Hmm.
and that perspective. And then sort of like, yeah, tiptoeing there and finding the right
Yeah,
way. I think that's pretty much where most leadership teams, where most also AI transformation leads are right now. So that's super interesting insights. Yeah. And then, sorry, I was interrupting you. What would be the second dream
yeah.
agent of yours?
Let me add one thing I forgot about because
Yeah.
since you're the founder of Workpath, I love work a lot with OKRs and love working with OKRs. So naturally, it also needs to have access to our OKRs and the targets I share with my team, with my peers, with the board. to understand what are your priorities. So this is a very natural one for you, but a necessary one. What are the day in, day out priorities?
Yeah,
Would need
I
assessment.
assumed you referred to that when you talked about like strategy and priorities,
Yeah.
and that's indeed very much what we with our goal graph database
Hmm.
or the execution graph, how we call it now,
Hmm.
build as part of sort of like AI infrastructure. I do, as you, believe in a not so distant future where there's definitely more agent than humans in most organizations, not replacing but amplifying humans. And we all, I think, have these experiences by now where it can be quite sobering. The best LLM is not great if it doesn't understand the context,
Hmm.
but it can get you really far. On the one hand, prompts, right, but on the other hand, context and data. And I think if any agent, actually any third-party agent, no matter who builds it or who also enhances it, knows what are my priorities, who do I need to align with on all levels of the organization, we already do see the first results there that it can make a big difference in terms of how good is the quality of an agent's output. But of course, it's just one source, right? I think the tricky part, as you indicated earlier, is really like the everyday input. What do I gather in meetings? Like there's so much, and how to bring this together into this graph. That's pretty much what I think about a lot, and what's a really really big part of our mission by now. So, thanks for bringing it up, so I could talk about it at least for a couple of seconds.
No, no, no. I'm happy to do so, and I also strongly believe in that. So the second one actually came up with it when I was thinking about it now is I like to read a lot and get in external inputs, and I also try to
Yeah,
kind of figure out what's happening in the tech scene, what are trends, can I make connections of these trends to what we are working on, an early sign. So when I have time, the next thing I will build is my agent who scouts in my favorite news sources and research and kind of distills this for me, saying, "Here, Florian, look, here's something that I found, a nice startup in the Silicon Valley that's working on XYZ, and this is connected to your strategic topic here. Maybe it's worthwhile to reach out."
great use case. And it's so interesting now that we do you and AI for some time to see these patterns, and it's always like obviously an individual perspective, based on the role, based on the company, based on the industry sometimes. But one strong pattern is definitely like, how can I make sure I'm not missing out on all the things that are
Mm.
happening around me? If I have a core package of information, what I care about, what is important for me. Obviously, for us, it's people we talk to. It's a lot about what my strategic goals, my priorities, but can also be other things. Yeah, just interest, as you just
Mm.
described it. And then, on the other hand, this should be connected to all the publicly available data out there. Can be
Yeah,
regulation, it can be press releases and investor reporting, can be just news or other media, as you
yeah,
described it. So yeah, that's definitely a strong category of use cases for sure. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
that's next thing I'm coming up with.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Um, I think that's it already. On purpose, we try to keep the U and AI conversations rather short and crisp. Get a lot of information into those, but then also follow up. So maybe we have the opportunity to talk again in 6 months, 12 months. We'll see. And
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of things will happen until then. So, Florian, for today, I thank you very much for your time and for all of these insights. And I hope you have a good rest of the week.
thanks, Johannes. Thanks for having me. Have a great rest of your week.
This was another episode of You and AI. Thank you for listening in. If you would like to hear more stories like this, I recommend you to subscribe to this podcast and to visit workpath.com/AI. If you are driving the AI transformation in your company, or if you are a leader who is interested in these dream agents that we discuss here, we'd be happy to talk, and you can always reach out by scheduling a call through that webpage.